Are you looking for a powerful way to get your message in front of a highly engaged audience? Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Stockdale with the Spin Market Report. Advertising on the Spin Market Podcast Network puts your business directly into the ears of our active listeners. Our podcasts have over 20,000 total streams in the last 12 months. That includes over 160,000 YouTube impressions and over 150,000 total views on YouTube combined. Whether you're promoting a product, service, or event, reach out to the Spin Market Podcast Network to find out how you can reach an actively engaged audience. So get heard today. Go to www.spinmarket.com to find out more information. Your business, your message, our platform.
It's the Spin Market Report. Here's your host, Peter Stockdale.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Spin Market Report. We are back for another episode. We got Luke Palmer here. Luke, you are from CJ Bio America. Can you maybe just broad stroke, like what do you do at CJ Bio?
Well, I'll talk about CJ Bio itself. CJ is a amino acid manufacturing company located west of Fort Dodge. We make amino acids primarily for swine and poultry.
Okay. All right. So what about like a brief history? How long has it been there? Or like
we broke ground in 2012 and started production November of 2013.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really fast.
Yeah. So you've been there over 10 years now already.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's at that, what do they call that facility out there?
It is the Crossroads of Global Innovation.
Iowa Crossroads.
Iowa
Crossroads of Global Innovation.
I love that. That's such a fun name.
Yeah, it's better than Ag Park.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, and we did the 2014 CJ.
You did.
And Cargill grand opening.
Yeah.
That was quite the affair.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
Very beautiful weather. You were in charge of that.
Yeah, I was in charge of everything. I'll take full credit for the weather and
everything. Did a great job.
Thank you.
All right. So for those of us that might not know what amino acids for poultry and pork, right?
Swine, yep.
Swine, yep. So like what can you break that down into something a little bit more digestible for the average person?
Sure. So like anybody that's into fitness knows about amino acids and supplements and things like that, because amino acids are the building blocks for proteins that create or help build lean muscle mass. So we want our livestock, our swine and our poultry, to be like really beef and lean, just really, really muscular, and that's the whole point of it is it just aids in the muscle development of the livestock so that they're a better food source for people.
Okay, a healthier way to build muscle.
Yes, it is.
Nice.
And you can get amino acids in things like soybean, corn, and different whole foods, but targeting the amino acids creates a better diet for the animal so that their growth pattern and growth cycle are more efficient.
All right. That makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. So what's your role out there?
Right now, I'm director of ESG, environmental, social, and governance. So the things that I'm responsible for, the departments are like regulatory affairs, quality control, environmental health and safety, and then ESG itself, which is something new that to the organization that in collaboration with headquarters, sustainability initiatives are becoming more and more pronounced and expected as far as investors. A lot of customers are also wanting to know our sustainability initiatives and how much carbon we are responsible for, water reuse, just everything in that whole envelope of sustainability. So that's one portion of my group that is growing and evolving as well.
That's nice. Yeah. A buddy of mine went to college for something along these lines. And I was like, I guess I didn't know companies were doing this. He's like, oh yeah, a lot of companies nowadays, this is really what they're going towards.
Yeah. I was pretty ignorant to it when I first heard of it. I thought sustainability was something more that was philosophical and not so much business centric. And my first dive into it, it was more from the financial perspective because, hey, you're director of ESG. Okay, what's that? Let's do some Googling and find out about it. And, there's a lot of financial aspects of sustainability. Is your business financially sustainable? Is it worth investing in? Mm-hmm. But it kind of involves all aspects of the business, from supply chain, sales, of course, the financial part of it, and then also what things are you doing to make sure that your business is going to be alive in 50 years or 100 years that include the environment?
Yeah.
And are you going to leave the world a better place? Are you going to improve it? Or are you just going to use all the natural resources and then not have anything to conduct business?
Oh, yeah. We had the guys from USG were kind of talking about this a little bit too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very same philosophy.
Okay.
Thought process on sustainability and
longevity, yeah.
Longevity, yes, exactly.
I like that. So like, what led you to working at CJ Bio? Did you work there like the whole time and kind of work your way up, or did you find a position? Or
So I used to work at, we'll just call it the labs in Fort Dodge.
Okay.
And the Riverside plant is the plant where I worked, and I was in production. Production manager there. And during the divestiture of that plant through one of the changes from pharmaceutical company to pharmaceutical company, the stability wasn't there. So I started looking for other opportunities locally. You know, I have family here, so it's not where I would want to leave the area.
Oh, yeah.
And Mayor Bemrick just said, hey, you know, I just had dinner with this gentleman. Their company is coming into Fort Dodge next year. Would you like to meet them? I said, sure. So I had an interview with, his name was Kyung Han. He was the CFO of CJ Bio at the time. And we hit it off right away. So I was hired initially as general manager. And I was just focused on, you know, embedding the company into the community and helping that transition of build a plant, get employees and things like that. Over the years, I've just taken on additional responsibilities. You know, I'm the type of guy, I'll do whatever I need to do to make the project or make the job successful. And I just think that attitude has given me a lot of opportunities at CJ. I was the second employee hired.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I feel, and others do, that we're in that first group of people that we've really built it from the ground up, literally and figuratively.
Absolutely. So let's kind of go down some, like, maybe what are your biggest challenges, or like maybe biggest successes, or like the most rewarding parts of your job?
The most rewarding part of my job is I have a lot of different teams, and of course each team has different levels of people, but it is watching and helping people grow in their position. We've had a lot of people who, say, started as an operator who are now shift leads or supervisors or managers. And then I pillaged some really good employees from places I used to work. And I've seen them completely change career. I hire the person sometimes, not just the technical ability.
Oh, okay,
and they've really grown into their positions. That's the most rewarding part for me, is watching people succeed. And then, in addition to that, it's just watching the company succeed. Mm-hmm. Having the plant go from a cornfield to a living, breathing production plant in 17 months, that was astonishing to me. And it still kind of, not so much takes my breath away, but if I stand back and I think about it and I'm out in the plant and I look around at things, it's still fascinating to me. So that continued engagement for myself is rewarding as well.
Yeah, I'm just barely old enough to remember driving out on that road and not seeing anything out there.
Yeah, it was a good place to hunt pheasant.
Oh yeah, right. Kind of by like on the train tracks there, right?
Yep.
Right near there. I never really even thought. Another thing was, like, I never thought about how like recruitment was actually like part of your job as well. Because I mean, as far as like the longevity of the company, like you had said, sometimes you maybe don't hire somebody for their skill set, but they have the mental cognizance to do the things that you want them to do, and then to hire them. And like you said, how rewarding it must be to watch them grow within your company there.
Yeah, it definitely is. We my son works out there now. He started as summer help a few years back, mowing lawns, and he's part of the CJ family now. And just watching the growth that he has experienced, learning how to do different actual tasks at work, like maintenance work that he does. And also just the growth of being part of a good team who's willing to do whatever it takes to help out their coworker or their colleague.
Mm-hmm. Having worked there for 10 plus years now, has your job role changed at all, or have things changed out there in a way that maybe you just didn't know they were going to change until now?
It seems like it's always evolving. So, like I said, when I first was hired, I remember the conversation with my boss, Kyung Han, at the time, and I'd been there maybe 2 or 3 days, and we were interviewing for positions. That's really all I was doing. And I sat down with him and I said, you showed me a job description, but it's just paper. Like, what am I responsible for? And he said, he kind of laughed. He said, everything. And so then we moved on to different parts of the conversation, but I came back to it and I said, no, really, what am I responsible for? He goes, oh, no, everything. Like, you're legit, until we get the team built here, you really need to have your hand in everything that's not actual building the plant related.
Oh, wow.
So being at that level and that early on, more and more I find myself just being a resource to connect what's going on now with sometimes mistakes we made in the past and how to avoid those. But it also has really allowed me to build a huge network of people in different parts of industry, government, collaborative groups, so that I really make connections for people or help find solutions for problems. That's generally what my job has turned into. I mean, I have the everyday responsibilities of the departments that report to me, but it's really just being one of the hands on the steering wheel to keep it between the lines.
That's awesome. I'm sure every day a new challenge, and every day there's a new reward for yourself to, for accomplishing those challenges.
Yeah. One of the things you asked is what are the challenges, and there's a new one every day. And I think that's that way for every business. For a while around COVID, it was definitely workforce. We lost, I don't even know what the statistics say about the percentage of workers we lost during that time, with an older generation just not coming back to work. And then a lot of people went back to school, but boy, it was tough there. I remember when we first opened we're planning on opening the plant, and we had, we just put a general, like we'll just say a want ad out there where it was on Monster or Indeed or wherever it was, but we got like 3,000 applicants.
Whoa.
For 70 positions or something like that. And there for a while, when we would post a job, we'd get one applicant, and that wasn't just CJ, that was everybody.
Yeah.
The workforce groups that I might have been participating in at the time. And, what's the answer to that? Well, we're going to have to steal from each other. So the challenges, they change every day.
Yeah. I think that's, like you'd mentioned earlier, networking, that's one of the reasons networking is so important, to have those people. Maybe they're in your industry, maybe they're in an adjacent industry, but to have them in your back pocket and say, hey, we have an opportunity for you over here to grow, and then bring them over and let them do that.
Yeah. And, we're very involved in the high schools, community college, Iowa Central specifically, but we go down to Iowa State quite a bit for career fairs and BV. We reach out to them. It's doing as much as we can to get our name out there. And the more you're involved, the more networking you do. And even talking at civic organizations like Rotary, there may be nobody in that group that's looking for a job, but they might have a family member that's looking for a job. So the workforce piece, that's just a consistent and constant focus for, I think, everybody.
Yeah. The CJ Bio network in general is like worldwide.
Yeah, they're a huge conglomerate.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people have any concept how big CJ Bio is, and the conglomerate that is all around them.
Yeah, we have a lot of different videos. I'll back up a little bit. We have an entertainment and media division, the bio and pharma division, which is what we are a part of, retail and logistics, and then
Food
and food service. Yep, thank you. And so the entertainment and media portion, especially when we were like launching the plant, they created a lot of cool videos for us and threw a lot of statistics out there for us to use in PowerPoints. And at one time we had 60,000 global employees, and even the people working with me at that time were like, oh my gosh, really? We're trying to hire a plant at that time of 160, 180 employees. But just the breadth of everything that CJ is over, we'll just say on that half of the globe, especially in the Asian countries, it's the times that I've went to South Korea, I really can't walk 2 blocks without seeing our CJ logo on something.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. I remember I was watching the Discovery Channel one time, and it was like Engineering Marvels or something like that. And one entire bit was about the largest barge that has ever hauled the largest cargo in the world. And right on the big part of the ship was our logo. And I was like, wow, that's us,
That's awesome. All right. So let's talk a little bit like Fort Dodge, the Fort Dodge company, the Fort Dodge sector of CJ Bio. How does that fit into like the worldwide operation? I know you said it was like one of the 4 sectors of CJ Bio's operations, but how does it fit into the world picture?
It's a really, really small piece of that pie, but our plant is the flagship operation in North America for the bio division.
Whoa.
So, there's always, really huge dreams for the plant. But I think that vision will eventually come to fruition over time. In 12 years, we've expanded twice. We doubled our warehousing capacity. when you're in it, it doesn't seem like you're growing at that fast of a clip. But stepping back and looking at other industry, I mean, I don't know of anybody else that's expanded that quickly here in our region. So it's a small, but it's a mighty piece. You know, there's a lot of influence that our plant has as far as the global direction, synergies with establishing other parts of the bio business. So now that we have an established site in the U.S., say our logistics business or our another division of our bio business, say like White Bio or the bioplastics division or something like that, if they want to make a connection with someone, they have some place to meet, they have employees they can talk to. Our team members who are embedded in the U.S. can then assist on business development initiatives or doing, due diligence on planning. And then also, the crossroads of global innovation out there, it has real estate that, it's there to expand. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't know, is that's always part of the consideration as CJ's business grows, because we are located where we are and we have excellent infrastructure, state and local government that are so willing to work with us, and then all the business partners like Iowa Central Community College, Spin Market, like we're so positioned for additional investment here. Now if geopolitical things would align right, that might make expansions and new business happen quicker, but just the fact that we're here, it does give a lot of influence within the entire division.
Absolutely. What about like innovations or advancements? Have there been anything out there in the like last 10 years or so where you started out doing it one way and you said, oh, we figured something out here. We're going to change this and key in on this a little bit and go forward with it. Have there been any of those? There have, and I can't get into too much detail because of the IP that's involved with it, but the plant was built to initially just produce lysine, that specific amino acid. And because we have other plants in the world that also produce lysine, of course, we're taking their technology and building the plant with newer, like actual technology. But within the first couple of years, we were kind of breaking all kinds of records internally with productivity and yield, and just time to profit was a lot faster than people expected. And that allowed us to win more confidence from headquarters to then go through our first expansion to make an entirely new product, which is granular threonine. The brand name is called ThreoPro. But that form of threonine, that's a one of a kind in the world, it's an innovation by CJ itself. It fulfills all the nutritional requirements, but it also, if you don't know anything about feed and feed additives, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you have powder in a bin and it's on the farm, that powder will accumulate on the sides and it'll not flow like water, right? So you have farmers out there beating on the bins with hammers, or they have to install vibrators to make everything flow like it's supposed to. The granular threonine, the number one success story with that is the flowability. It's a bunch of really, really tiny granules, but they're round. So you put all of that in a bin and it just flows through like water. Oh, cool.
It sounds simple, but when you have, say, a feed lot with 30,000 head of hogs, you don't want to have to go out and beat on bins all the time to get your product to flow through. You just turn the switch on and it works.
That's a good example. I would have never thought of that. That would have been like an all-day job for somebody, basically.
Yeah. But, we're daily. We have research facilities on site, nothing like we have in headquarters, but we're constantly playing around in the lab and seeing what else we can do. We have, just like any facility, we have various waste streams, right? And what we've done over the years is find ways to repurpose that waste stream. So we have, like when we're purifying our lysine, some of the stuff that comes off and is held in ponds on site, that is like a 4 or 5% nitrogen solution. And what we did early on was then we partnered with another local company and they apply that to cornfields, probably in a 60, 70 mile radius of the plant. It does the same thing that anhydrous ammonia does, but it's not as harsh on the environment. It's naturally derived. And in our process, we ferment a bacteria using dextrose from Cargill. that dextrose comes from corn that they process. When it's all said and done, it's come full circle because then that nitrogen solution that we produce goes back on the cornfields instead of anhydrous ammonia.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I don't want to tie this back into the other podcast, but USG was talking about some of this stuff too. I love it when a company can find a way to repurpose something that, like, in all essence might just be, I'm not trying to say it's junk, but you don't need it anymore.
It's a waste.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, actually we can reuse this and do something else with it. And, turn something that was a loss into some sort of, maybe even a profit at the end of the day, or to lower the loss level.
Yeah, it's all part of that sustainability concept of being circular. And internally, CJ has a philosophy of beyond bio, renew the earth, and that all of that fits together so well. And it's enjoyable and it's satisfying to be part of a company that doesn't just put a mission, vision, and philosophies on the wall. I actually see us living it every day.
That's awesome.
Well, there's also the connection with Cargill that you use their steam.
Yeah, so
It's another sustainable.
Yep. So if we were out in a field standalone by ourselves, we would definitely be more carbon intensive because the steam that we use in a lot of our processes, we would have to have a boiler and produce our own steam with natural gas, which produces more carbon. The dextrose that we get from Cargill would have to be trucked in or brought in on rail. And the steam and the dextrose from Cargill are both just direct piped right to our facility as part of our Cargill CJ partnership.
That's so cool. You guys
a lot of thought put into that.
Yeah, that's neighbors working together out there. That's so fun.
They've been, amazing business partners along the way.
That's good. I mean, I always wondered because I figured they're next to each other for a reason, but I guess I didn't realize that you guys were that involved with one another. That's
Well,
really
that was one
cool.
of the reasons that.
Yeah, that they decided to co-locate together.
Yes.
Anecdotally, I was told that we broke ground in 2012. That deal, so to speak, I'm using air quotes, was initiated like in 2009, 2010 between the two companies. They knew they wanted to do something. They wanted to do it somewhere in the U.S., and then they landed on Fort Dodge.
That's super cool. So while we're talking about Fort Dodge, how has CJ Bio impacted the Fort Dodge economy? I know we talked a little bit about the job market, how it impacted.
It's all rainbows and unicorns since CJ came to town.
Well, I'm just imagining, like, I'm assuming, let's just say it's some high dollar stuff's going through there. That probably creates some good tax revenue, or there's got to be things that you guys are doing there. Maybe even with the farmers, it might help them out. I guess I just don't know exactly.
Yeah. So
on economical impacts
on the larger scale things, if you're talking big numbers, I believe it was Ernie Goss did a study.
Yes, he did.
About CJ Bio and Cargill and our partnership out there. And I think, I don't want to misquote, but it was tens of billions of dollars of financial benefit to the region, over X amount of years. But just to make it a more relatable set of information, if we have a good year, obviously employees get bonuses. And this was the first company that I had worked at where from the top to the bottom, everybody got a bonus.
Cool.
So I remember one year, just for conversation's sake, I calculated, how many dollars of bonuses did we give out in the last 5 years? Well, it was like $7 million of bonuses to our employees. So if you take $7 million over a few years and you give that to 200 people that all live in this area, they're all spending that money on houses, cars, groceries, gas, food. Everything that we do out there and Cargill does takes resources from our area and, in a sense, reinvests it in the area. It's taking a commodity in corn that, sure, we could ship it overseas, sure, we could sell it on the East Coast, the West Coast, wherever, but the dollars are continuing to recycle in this area and grow value year on year.
I love that. I think that's one of the things a lot of people, the economy is such like a big thing, but like you think about like you said, money in employees' pockets ends up getting spent at other businesses in Fort Dodge, which gets spent at other businesses. And the employees at those businesses get the money. It just all just stays right here maybe not all of it, but a lot of it stays right here. It just fosters a whole lot more economical impact down the line.
And the foundational concept of community is at the core of CJ. The company CJ Chiljadang was established in 1953 in South Korea, right after the Korean War. So the society was just decimated, it was a rough time. And CJ Chiljadang the company was started to obviously make money so it could continue living, but to give people a job to go to give them a purpose, and then to produce a commodity that was very much in need just for general cooking. And so that foundational concept of supporting your communities, it drives a lot of what we do. I'm really proud to know that when you think of community support or donations or things like that, we're the company that just really doesn't say no. So, anywhere from, a youth softball league to donating soccers to the Youth Soccer Association to helping Iowa Central with their new veterinary division or veterinary curriculum that they're coming up with, Lord's Cupboard. I mean, we have so many different things that we financially support that I can't even keep track. We just don't say no. And granted, somebody may only need $250 for their cause. That's kind of what we're here for. Mm-hmm. And so we every year we set money aside just to support. We just generically call it the donations budget, but it just grows year after year. And I don't think I've ever been told no when I've requested that kind of a budget.
I love that story because I don't think I ever would have known that about like how CJ Bio started, and it makes so much sense. And the best part about it was you answered like one of the next questions on here about community involvement in projects and initiatives. So it seems like you guys are very, very involved in the community. You talked about other partnerships, collaborations. You had mentioned Cargill, essentially your neighbors. Do you have you formed like any other collaborations in the local area with other companies or any other industries or businesses?
Like official collaborations, I would say no. New Co-op is a great business partner for that ammonia solution that I was talking about. But we want to be involved with, of course, anything that betters the community or helps out local business get started. So we do a lot of, we'll just say unofficial collaborations with Iowa Central Community Colleges, the STEM initiatives at Fort Dodge Senior High, St. Edmund, Manta Northwest Webster, Southeast Valley. A little farther away, we are starting to do more and more with Iowa State University. Our sales division that's based out of Downers Grove, Illinois. A lot of the nutritionists and the PhDs and the veterinarians that are part of that, they went to Iowa State. So there's some really good connections there. Myself or others in the organization talk a lot about or at all of those things that I just, those organizations I was just talking about. And it's really the unofficial side of it is because we don't have formal agreements. If company XYZ says, hey, we're thinking about doing this, it might involve CJ this way, we'll sit down and talk about it and see if we can help.
I love that. Sometimes maybe it's easier to get stuff done if you don't have like the overly formal agreements. And it just sounds like from everything you said, answering the last 2 or 3 questions, CJ Bio just kind of wants to help. They want to find a way to help. Yeah. If somebody within their industry, a neighbor, their community, even a couple communities down the road even.
Well, it makes sense if you think about it. The more successful the community is and the more prosperous they are, the more prosperous and successful our business is going to be in that community.
Absolutely. So I'm sure this is one of the things that sets CJ Bio apart from the other companies within your industry, but is there anything else that sets CJ Bio apart, like top of mind that, within your industry that maybe other companies maybe might not be doing, but,
there again, when it comes to intellectual property, I got to be careful, but I do know based on published data that when it comes to fermentation technology, so I didn't explain that very well, but just like making wine, when you make wine, your yeast is consuming the sugar, and that's how the alcohol is created. When we produce an amino acid, we start with a simple, common environmental bacteria, and it consumes the dextrose, the sugar from Cargill. That technology is leading edge. It's the best in the world, that fermentation technology. And I think as the years go on and we continue to expand with additional business partners out at the Crossroads Global Innovation, people will start to realize that beyond making amino acids for swine and poultry, biotechnology gives you the ability to make nearly any chemical that you can think of that's petroleum based. So I'm not in my position and just who I am as a person. I'm not a radical on either end of the spectrum about environmentalism or petroleum, but just common sense tells me that the more diversified you can be in what you eat, what you make, how you make it, the better things are, because it increases the sustainability because you have more options on how you're doing things. And I think based on a lot of the conversations that we have had and just general industry discussions about biotechnology becoming more prevalent and more accepted and more sustainable, I think the wins for us out at our location are going to become more and more evident as years go on.
Nice. I like that. That's a good answer.
That was a long answer. I almost got lost right in the middle of it.
Oh man. I when you were explaining that, I was thinking to myself, like, okay, yeah, I understand the whole like yeast and sugar and wine and stuff, but like that's about all the further I get. And you guys are delving so deep into this that you're doing things that nobody else is doing, you know, and it's to the point where I'm glad there's people like you out there, because otherwise it'd just be people that would just stop like I did, just be like, I can make wine and that's good enough for me, I guess, you know.
That's all you need sometimes. You know?
It also goes back to the biofuel out there. You know, who thought that soybeans and corn, and now they're going to be going into aviation fuel on it as well. So that is another diversification that might not have been here with all the other bio projects that we have going on.
Yeah.
Well, in our White Bio division, they are working on and have established technology to create bioplastics from the same fermentation process. And the benefit of CJ's bioplastic is that it's marine biodegradable, 6 months. So you have these islands, acre large islands out in the ocean of plastic water bottles and things floating. The bio-based solution that our White Bio division has, that would all degrade within 6 months and return to a normally occurring bacteria in the water.
Wow.
All the grocery sacks that are floating outside Walmart and Target,
flying around.
Yeah, they that would no longer be there. And so I didn't think of things like that before I worked at CJ. And being in the pharmaceutical industry, I knew about biotechnology, you know, making vaccines and using viruses and things like that. But I was not aware that so much could be done with simple fermentation.
That's wild. You mentioned the plastic sacks that are kind of sometimes, let's just say they just get blown into fields. Sure. Maybe it's an accident, whatever. But I remember like the city in some capacity used to have a thing where they'd get people together to
every April.
Every April,
they'd go
the
clean
Fod
up.
Walk.
Yeah, and now,
just to go clean up plastic bags that have blown out there during the winter.
And to think, you know, maybe 30, 40, 50 years from now, that won't even be a thing anymore. You know,
that's the hope.
That'd be awesome. Let's talk misconceptions. Like, is there any misconceptions about what CJ Bio does? Or like, I mean, I would be the one person who's like, they make feed or something. Like, that's about all the further I would have gotten with it. But are there any misconceptions that people might have that you guys, they don't know what you're doing out there? They do, but they don't really know, kind of like I was before I came into this podcast?
There's a lot of them. I remember when my son was probably in 4th or 5th grade, you know, you have the thing where, you know, come to school, tell about your job. And so he asked me if I was interested, and then he asked my wife, and, you know, she's in healthcare, and she's much more dynamic, and she's a better speaker than I am. You know, I'm not ashamed of that. I'm proud of it, actually. But he said, well, I kind of want Mom, because you just work, you know, you make corn for Cargill. And I was like, so there's that misconception, is a lot of people, some still today, but early on, really thought that we were just part of Cargill. They thought we did something with corn. They didn't know what amino acids were. That's kind of not a misconception, but just kind of an ignorance thing. Like, people just don't know what that is or why it's important. But the other misconception is that I think habits are very ingrained in people. And when you look back at history, it's very hard to change a mindset. And if things have historically only had a petrochemical solution, it's very hard to get people on board with an alternative solution, because, you know, they know what they've always done will work, and it's hard to get people to to change their perception that something new could actually be better in every single sense of in every way. But yeah, the big ones were that, we were part of Cargill, same company. We did something with corn, or we were a biofuels plant as well. And I hope we've gotten past those, but
well, I will say, I mean, I almost don't want to admit it, but those were basically all the misconceptions I had too.
Good.
It was just kind of, I didn't really know the difference between any of the stuff. And I mean, I feel like I've been so enlightened, and we're not quite done with the interview yet, but I feel like this has been a very enlightening thing for me, and hopefully anybody else that's listening, to kind of understand what you guys are doing out there.
Part of it's because we don't have a product that goes to the consumer.
Oh yeah.
Pigs don't talk.
Right. Right.
Yeah. At least not to me, anyways.
Yeah.
Is there a product or a project or achievement out there that you're like specifically proud of, that maybe while you were there and on your watch it kind of happened and you're like, yeah, I'd like to hang my hat on this?
Completely separate from CJ. For a lot of my life, I did construction, and I did it as kind of a side gig. And, I've built houses that took 18 months. And here we took this 64-acre plot of land, and we literally bagged our first product in 17 months. And just the fact that nearly everything worked exactly as it was supposed to.
Wow.
The fact that we were able to hire and train well over 100 employees in that time so that they knew how to run it once that switch was turned on. But then the fact that we've had so much success in expanding that, I mean, those outweigh everything else. All of those other wins, just the startup and the expansions, because every time it's a gamble. And it's industry. There's risks every single day. There are sugar facilities down south that have blown up.
Oh yeah.
There's all kinds of things that can go wrong, and the fact that we just continue to be a safe, reliable livelihood for people in the community, that's also a big win. But that one, it just continues to happen.
So as we're educating everyone, and as I've been educated here and found a lot of this interesting, was there anything that, like, when you started working there, you didn't know about, and all of a sudden you're just like, wow, this is really interesting, and I'm going to be involved in this? Is there anything that kind of hit you like a ton of bricks, kind of like it's all hitting me right now?
Yeah, and it was the largeness of CJ. When I got hired, I went through orientation. I found out about the 4 divisions and all of that. But until I went to South Korea, I just didn't get it. And I don't think there's any way you can fully grasp that, being a small town Iowa guy, until you see something that vast in another country. I just don't think it'll hit home. I was really, really caught off guard by that. And you're kind of like a rock star in CJ. Like, if you're from our plant and you go to headquarters, you get treated like royalty, and that was kind of cool too.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Going into a foreign country and being treated like royalty there. That's a lot of kudos.
So we're getting close to the end here. Let's imagine somebody's listening and they're like, well, maybe I kind of want to get in on a slice of this pie and work at CJ Bio. Like, what's the easiest way for them to get involved in some capacity? Like, apply for a job or schooling that might help them out a little bit, or? Yeah.
So if you're looking at different, just looking to apply, we are on Indeed. Every job we have is also posted on the Growth Alliance website. And our recruiting team in human resources does an amazing job of getting that information to the hiring manager as soon as possible. And I always say apply, even if you may not want that exact job, because we're continuing to grow. We are always hiring. There are always open positions. I can't think of a time where we haven't had at least one opening. And we very much promote from within. So like I said earlier, we have a lot of people who might have started as an operator and now they're head of building and grounds, or they moved to a completely different department, or they're hired as a purchasing assistant, and then now they're a logistics manager. There's a lot of room for growth. What was the other part of your question?
I think that was it. Maybe like schooling. If somebody is this something where you can train on the job? If somebody like
most
that?
Definitely.
Most of them, yeah.
Just like any place, we have the more technical jobs where we're looking for chemical engineers, or micro engineers, or electrical engineers basically. But your entry level job, we'll take anybody with a high school degree that's going to be reliable, trustworthy, and want to work hard. But there are, in my opinion, the trades are also something that I think we're going to continue to see to be a challenge in filling. We have welders, we have mechanics, and they're really good paying jobs. I would encourage people to look at the trades also if they're looking to get into something at CJ or even Iowa Central. They have various 2-year programs for things along the lines of biotechnology that are really, really valuable to us.
You mentioned trades and Iowa Central in the same sentence. I know Jesse Ulrich's high-five everybody
I
in the office
He
right
slipped
now.
me a 20 before I came here.
On there.
Oh, I love it. So we are actually getting down to the end of this podcast, which I got to about the end of the questions here. We answered pretty much everything I had on here. Some of them you answered ahead of time, which is amazing. So thank you very much for being good with the question answering there. But I got to know, is there a time in your life where, because we're a marketing company, has there been a time in your life where marketing impacted you and you maybe didn't realize it till afterwards? Either personal life, work life, anything?
That's the only question that stumped me.
Really?
That's interesting.
I can't think of a time when it hasn't.
It's usually pretty open-ended. I feel like a lot of times I don't realize somebody marketed something to me until it's like in my hand and I'm consuming it and I'm like, oh yeah, this is, whatever. I usually use ice cream as my example because I like ice cream, but
This may be a very weird example, but I was looking for a pair of shoes the other day, and like a pair of boots like I'm wearing, something like that that's a little dressier, and in my head I knew exactly what I wanted, and it's because I had seen it on one of those algorithmically produced
Digital ads
on Facebook. And so I literally was trying to find that ad in my Facebook feed because that was exactly what I wanted, and I just couldn't find them at any store in town.
Oh.
Did you find it out though on your Facebook feed?
No.
No?
So I did get these. They're close, but they're
okay.
just not exactly what I
Oh,
wanted.
darn. Well, now that we know what you're looking for,
You
see
keep
what
an
we
eye
can
out
do.
for
Yeah,
me.
we'll look for you and send you the information.
But that's the thing with good marketing is you don't know that it's influencing you, but it does help.
Yeah. Those ads on Facebook and things like that, I don't remember what it was, but a couple weeks ago, same thing as you. It's like I saw this thing and now I can't see it again.
Yeah.
And literally what I did to make it come up again was I just put my phone on my lap and said, man, I really wish I could find that ad I saw for this one thing. And then a couple hours later, it popped up again. And I was like, there it is. The algorithm's listening in some capacity, or they're pushing what you're saying or thinking or typing to other people in different apps into what they're going to show you. And sometimes you can kind of coax it to come back if you really need to. So
I'll keep that in mind.
Okay.
yeah, it's a fun one.
Well, no, if you have the new shoes that are the new boots that
Well, I
you
always need more shoes.
Okay.
Well, this has been really, really enlightening. I feel like everything that goes on, at CJ Bio, I used to drive past it all the time when I would go to Barnum for, I'd go play music out there. They had little jam nights once a week out there, and I'd always kind of drive past and just be like, wow, this place is so cool. I wonder what they do out there. And guess what? Now I know, and now everybody else does too. So we're getting down to the end of this. Is there anything that we didn't talk about on here that you think we should possibly bring up?
I think it's important to highlight, and I kind of touched on it a little bit, how beneficial, how lucky we are to have the political representation that we have. So going back to, the start of the establishment of CJ, that first trip to Korea, I actually had the opportunity to meet with the head man, the CEO of CJ. And I just asked him, like, what made you guys decide to establish here in Fort Dodge? And he told me the story of a delegation from Fort Dodge went to CJ headquarters in Korea to lobby them to invest here. And I think it was like Keith Denclaw, Mayor Bemrake. There's a whole group of people. And he said, it's his belief that you'll never see eye to eye if you never meet face to face.
Bingo. We heard that one other time on the podcast.
Yeah, that face to face really sold them on being here. And then just the continued support. So many people in government, like at Iowa Central, state government, feed official, everybody just has the attitude of, how can we help? And when I have worked on other projects that have maybe looked at, a neighboring state for a business, you just don't see that. It's more government's an adversary, whereas here, everybody if you're going to do it the right way, they want to help. And I just think that can't be said enough, how lucky we are to have the representatives and the city council and the county supervisors and Iowa Economic Development and Governor Reynolds. It's just everybody is wanting the same stuff, maybe tweaked a little different, but they just want us to be better.
Yeah. I love that. People helping you out, but you're also helping communities out.
Yep.
It's nice to have you guys as a partner out there.
What a great way to end a podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks. Absolutely. Luke Palmer, I got you here. CJ Bio America. I'm going to put links down below for everything that's CJ Bio America that I can find. So if you guys are looking for any of that stuff, you want to learn even more about it, click on a link down below, give them a follow. Also, there's going to be some Spin Market links down below, so click those as well if you're interested in some marketing information. But Luke, I want to say thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day to sit down and talk with us about this.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.